Hello and welcome tonight. Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirms Nigeria's drive to spearhead Africa's renaissance as world leaders debate at the 80th General Assembly in New York. Vice President Shettima meets UN Chief Antonio Guterres, pressing Nigeria's case for a permanent Security Council position. Former Oyo State Governor Rashidi Ladoja is crowned the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land in a grand star-studded ceremony. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blasts Western recognition of a Palestinian state moments after delegates walk out.
On business news, Corporate Affairs Commission and SMEDAN commence initiative to provide free business registration for 250,000 MSMEs across the country.
On sports news tonight, MPFL champions Remo Stars advanced in CAF Champions League preliminary round, faces South Africa's Mamelodi Sundown next.
And from the nation's capital, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, reaffirms his commitment to revamping the infrastructure of the nation's capital.
Deliberations continue at this year's UNGA 80, and Vice President Kashim Shettima has stated his belief that the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa, and Nigeria can make or mar that transition. He was speaking at the Global Partnership for Education 2026 to 2030 replenishment campaign meeting, which took place on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, has this report.
As world leaders continue with their presentations in the general debate of the 80th United Nations General Assembly, in different parts of the city, other meetings and activities are taking place. One of such is the Global Partnership for Education 2026 to 2030 replenishment campaign meeting, co-hosted by Nigeria's Minister of Education.
Mr. Matteo Salvini,
emphasizing the importance of education, Vice President Kashim Shettima voiced his optimism about Nigeria's large youth population.
Hope springs eternal from the hearts of men and women, and I'm absolutely certain that in the fullness of time, our much anticipated demographic bulge will be translated into demographic dividends. Ours is a very young population. So in this age of the digital revolution, we are in a unique position to fill in the gap, because the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa, and Nigeria will make or mar that transition.
Subnationals are also not left out, as they also meet with investors. After signing an MOU, the Kaduna State Governor identifies the reasons states are faring better.
The reason why we're making most of this progress and achievement is because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since he came in, he has done a lot in reaching out to a lot of global leaders. Without the federal government effort, Subnational will not achieve much in terms of creating these opportunities.
His counterpart from Zamfara State says engagements at the annual gathering have been positive.
No, Zamfara is the state of solid minerals, and this is the thing that is ongoing now. And I'm so happy with the kind of response I received. There are people that are ready to commit their resources as well as technical expertise to do mining in Zamfara State. I mean, what else can I look for?
Meanwhile, a report presented on the sideline of the General Assembly assesses Nigeria's progress regarding the Sustainable Development Goal 16, which looks to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development.
There are a number of recommendations we recommend. One, is to ensure that Nigeria have a legal framework on whistleblowing, because a lot of Nigerians, when they want to expose corruption, they get victimized. Secondly, we also call on government to ensure that they block leakages in our financial institution.
Meanwhile, at the Africa Energy Investment Summit, which also took place on the sidelines, the Minister of Petroleum Oil pushed for an African solution to Africa's energy challenges.
Energy investments are among the most prolific investments you can make, and you can get the highest returns. And like I said, we have a job to do. We'll do our job by educating our people on the need for them to invest in the African Energy Bank, on the need for Africans to find an African solution to our energy financing problem, which is the most fundamental problem we have.
These activities are expected to continue as countries, subnationals, and groups take advantage of this gathering of nations. From New York, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Vice President Shetima met with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the UN headquarters in New York to discuss key issues, including Nigeria's quest for a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council and other matters of mutual interest. The two leaders also held bilateral discussions focusing on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, climate change, collaboration on strengthening democracy in Nigeria and the African region, and partnership with the United Nations Development Programme on regional initiatives for democracy and security. Speaking about the visit, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, made it known that the UN Secretary General commended the Vice President for emphasizing the country's need for a permanent position on the UN Security Council.
The meeting was about continued collaboration between the United Nations and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The United Nations, as you know, has a very strong presence in Nigeria. Its agencies are there. So achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, issues to do with climate change, collaborating on strengthening democracy in Nigeria and in our region. We're also partnering with the UNDP on a regional partnership for democracy and security in the region. And the VP further emphasized the need for the UN to support Nigeria even more so that we achieve more, and the fact that we are aspiring to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. In fact, it was the Secretary General that commended the Vice President for stressing that in his speech.
Indeed, it was a busy day for Vice President Shetima as he also attended the Global Leadership Council meeting, where he assured that Nigeria is poised to leverage opportunities in the digital space to engage the youth while empowering women and girls. The Global Leadership Council meeting, held at the UNICEF headquarters, brought together CEOs, heads of UN agencies, civil society champions, and young people to analyze how to co-create and deliver innovative solutions on a global scale.
For the government, our job is much easier. Provide the policy frameworks and the infrastructure needed. For the private sector, they have to provide the capital, the innovations, and the market linkages. And for the youth, we need their entrepreneurial drive, their creativity, their digital fluency, and lo and behold, opportunities abound in the digital space. That will be a win-win situation for the African continent. As I said, the whole world is aging. The Asian tigers are aging. I feel very old. I'm just 59. But in the midst of Nigerian youth, you'll see them call me Baba. Baba is father. You know, I tend to feel embarrassed. This is why I will try and get a dye and blacken my eyebrows and so on. So tomorrow is pregnant with possibilities. I can assure you all that Africa will rise, and it's already rising. And honestly, we have no business being poor, honestly.
Nigeria's Vice President Shetima may be doing the business at the ongoing UNGA 80. And for those asking, what about President Bola Tinubu's presence at the event? Well, Nigeria's former Minister of External Affairs, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, says the criticism of President Bola Tinubu's absence from the UN General Assembly is not necessary, stating that Vice President Shetima does a good enough job of representing and delivering the ideas of his principal. Professor Akinyemi admits that in an ideal situation, the president should be at the UNGA, but he notes that the vice president is a good speaker and has had a good outing so far.
The vice president has been a great articulator. I don't think that we need to worry about him being on the platform. Rather than President Tinubu himself showing up. I have had over the years the interaction with the Vice President, and I've always been quite impressed by the way in which he articulates policies, and the delivery is something that has always impressed me. If you look at the roster of speakers, you will notice that there are others there are presidents who are represented by their vice presidents, and there are presidents who are represented by even their foreign ministers. So I don't think we need to make much ado about the absence of President Tinubu on that podium. Under normal circumstances, it is the president who should stand at that podium to talk to the world under normal circumstances. But I have no idea why the first time and the second time President Tinubu has not stepped up to that podium.
Back home, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has rejected the no-case submission made by the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in his ongoing trial on alleged terrorism. In a ruling, Justice Omotosho held that the prosecution has established a case against Mr. Kanu to warrant that he be ordered to enter his defense. Our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, arrives to Federal High Court Abuja for the continued trial on alleged terrorism charges against him. He exchanges pleasantries with his team of lawyers. At the resumed hearing, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, delivered two rulings. The court dismissed his application on no-case submission, asking him to enter his defense. Justice Omotosho held that the exhibits tendered by the prosecution have raised serious allegations of Kanu's involvement in alleged terrorism, and he should have the opportunity to defend himself. On Kanu's request to be transferred to a private ward at the National Hospital for urgent medical treatment on life-threatening illness, Justice Omotosho gave the president of the Nigerian Medical Association 8 days to ascertain Kanu's health status. According to the judge, members of the association should determine if his medical status could prevent him from standing trial. The court ordered that the president of NMA should assess the health facilities of the DSS to determine if they were adequate to effectively take care of Kanu's ailments. According to the judge, the team is also to determine whether or not it was necessary to transfer Kanu to the National Hospital. The judge also ordered that the chief medical director of the National Hospital or his representative be a member of the team. Justice Omotosho further ordered that the report of the team's findings should be signed and filed in the court's registry within 8 days from Friday, September 26, 2025. Nnamdi Kanu is being prosecuted by the DSS on a 7-count charge bordering on alleged terrorism. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, former Oyo State Governor Rashidi Ladoja is crowned the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land in a grand star-studded ceremony. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirms Nigeria's drive to spearhead Africa's renaissance as world leaders debate at the 80th UN General Assembly in New York. Vice President Shettima meets UN Chief Antonio Guterres, pressing Nigeria's case for a permanent Security Council position. Former Oyo State Governor Rashidi Ladoja is crowned the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land in a grand star-studded ceremony. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blasts Western recognition of a Palestinian state moments after delegates walk out. As part of efforts to ensure a safer country, the Nigeria Police is undergoing deliberate restructuring to strengthen operations, enhance intelligence gathering, improve training, and enforce accountability at every level. Speaking in Abuja while commissioning 59 armored vehicles for special operations, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, assures Nigerians that the force remains committed to improving its response time in order to secure the nation. According to the IGP, citizens will see the armored vehicles on the roads, towns, and in vulnerable communities, which translates directly into greater visibility, quicker response times, and improved safety outcomes.
The Nigerian police force is judged by how safe our people feel, how quickly we respond, and how firmly we stand against lawlessness. These 59 armored Toyota Hilux vehicles commissioned today in Abuja are evidence that this force does not trade in promises, it delivers capacity. The commissioning of these vehicles comes at a critical moment. Across the continent of Africa, Nigeria not an exception, crime and insecurity continue to evolve in complexity and intensity. The answer cannot be hesitation or half measures. It must be readiness backed by resources. These assets here today that we are commissioning represent our determination to move faster than the criminals, respond stronger than the threats, and assure citizens that their police are not overwhelmed but prepared. Each Hilux is purpose-built for high-risk operations. Armored against hostile fire, equipped for mobility across diverse terrains, and designed for durability. They provide our tactical units with the protection and speed they need to dominate the field.
So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Terry Ikumi is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Terry. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Now, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has renewed his commitment to President Bola Tinubu's directive to revamp the infrastructure of the nation's capital. Mr. Wike stated this at a flag-off of the construction of the arterial road in Katsina district linking the renewed Hope Estate. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni reports.
It's the 5th official flag-off ceremony in this series of infrastructural projects in the FCT, and it's the turn of Katsina district. The district is hosting the federal government's renewed Hope Housing project. This project is designed to provide access road into the estate and its environs.
The roads will not only give access to the renewed Hope Estates and City, it will also open up the Katsina districts of Phase 3 north of the Federal Capital City. The project was approved by the Federal Executive Council for award to Messrs. Lubric Construction Company Limited in March 2025, and is expected to be completed within 18 months from commencement.
The importance of this project cannot be overstated. The construction of these access roads, N11, N16, N4, and SILS, 3 is a strategic intervention that will ease traffic congestion by providing a vital link between Karsana district and other parts of the city, thereby boosting commercial and residential development and ultimately contributing to the growth of Abuja as a model city.
For the FCT minister, his commitment to carrying out the president's directive is unwavering.
What defines a city first is the network of roads. Then you talk about other facilities. Of all these houses you are seeing here, without any network of roads, it makes no sense. If you want to bring a hospital here without road, it makes no sense. If you want to build schools here without road, it makes no sense. So the first thing you must provide as to attract even investors is the road network, and which is what we're doing. And before you know it, all here we're broken.
The 10-kilometer access road is expected to open up the area for development. Delia Moyeni, Channels Television News.
Societies now have a responsibility of protecting public infrastructure as the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency is engaging communities in major highways of the country to improve road maintenance. Managing Director of the agency, Mr. Emeka Agbasi, made the announcement during the flag-off of Operation Safeguard the Road program in Abuja. He explains the initiative is designed to improve road serviceability while creating employment opportunities for young Nigerians.
This is the flag-off of the 2025 edition of the Operation Safeguard the Roads by the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, a nationwide initiative aimed at enhancing road serviceability and creating employment opportunities for young Nigerians. The idea of the initiative is to engage communities along federal highways in maintaining the roads while providing jobs for youth in these communities. It's the agency's response to the perennial challenges of road deterioration, environmental threats, and rising unemployment.
Maintaining road infrastructure is an investment with far-reaching socio-economic benefits, from creating jobs to improving trades and reducing travel costs. However, achieving this goal requires strategic planning, sustainable funding, and a commitment to continuous maintenance. By prioritizing road infrastructure maintenance, Nigeria can unlock its full economic potential, improving the lives of its citizens and paving way for sustainable growth.
The national launch took place in Kwali Area Council on the Abuja-Lokoja Road, and it is designed to improve road safety, reduce travel time and cost, and provide temporary employment opportunities for youths aged 18 to 45. The key components of the program includes vegetation control to enhance visibility, drainage management to prevent flooding, minor repairs including patching of potholes, and training on road maintenance operations for participants. The managing director of the agency then officially flags off the program. The young people were also handed tools to begin the work immediately ahead of the festive season. In Kebbi State, over 100 young people were recruited to participate in the exercise.
This work is very important to the motorists because people have been complaining about this area because of water lodging and other things actually that is happening around the area. So that's why we decided to come and intervene here.
Each of the participants will be paid a stipend for their contribution to the program as the agency looks for ways to sustain the initiative.
Nigerians need to imbibe the culture of transparency and accountability to fully eradicate corruption in the country. That's coming from the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Olubadan. Mr. Olubadan made the call during the passing out parade of 404 Detective Superintendent Cadets Course 10 and Detective Inspector Cadet Course 7 in Akwanga, Nasarawa State. Meanwhile, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State is calling on the National Assembly to establish an anti-corruption court to handle cases of corruption.
This is the passing out of the 404 Detective Superintendent Cadets and Detective Inspector Cadets of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Academy. Friends and family of the graduation cadets are joined by Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State and the chairman of the commission. The cadets display some of the skills they have acquired during the training with precision. These cadets have been taken through the drills of intelligence gathering and basic law enforcement courses, among others.
Work together, work with yourselves, be loyal to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and be coordinated to yourselves.
Sir, I stand bold to submit that this breed of cadet officers stand out among several others before them, using clear and established indicators such as morality, discipline, adaptation to regimentation, professionalism, and integrity.
In his remarks, the governor underscores judicial integrity and efficiency in combating large-scale and transnational corruption.
I ask the members of the National Assembly to consider a special court that will be set aside only for the cases of corruption in this country. And once we do that, then we can have a country that people are happy with.
For the chairman of the commission, the training strengthens the fight against corruption as he commits to the impact of the commission's efforts on transparency and combating crime.
Corruption in our nation requires concerted efforts, energy, passion, and drive of every patriotic Nigerian. Over the years, the commission has shown that it is capable of tackling any economic and financial crime, and this is not just self-adulation or aggrandizement. It is owing to its development of effective manpower that can weather the storms of investigations and prosecutions of cases.
Outstanding cadets were rewarded for their efforts during the exercise.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Corporate Affairs Commission and SMEDAN commence initiative to provide free business registration for 250,000 MSMEs across the country. That's on Business News. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has called on Nigerians to stay hopeful, assuring that the economy is now on a recovery path that promises relief and prosperity for citizens who have endured hardship. The president gave this assurance at the historic Makbo Hall in Ibadan during the coronation of the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Ladoja. He explained that the tough economic decisions of the past are beginning to yield results, adding that the country is on the verge of sustained growth and shared prosperity. Our correspondent, Bukola Urewo, reports.
Sons and daughters of Ibadan land, both at home and in the diaspora, describe the coronation as a mother of all celebrations, coming out in full support of their new king. A week-long series of activities climaxes with the crowning of Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja as the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land. No expenses spared as the historic Makbo Hall hosts the grand ceremony for the former senator, former governor, and now the foremost monarch of the land.
I hereby present the staff of office.
Governor Seyi Makinde presents the instrument of office to the new king, officially legitimizing his reign.
This is in confirmation of the party recognized status of the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land. I so present.
Ladoja ogo, 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 ogo. Ladoja tó jẹ́ àṣírí bàbá wa. Kábíyèsí ooo, ojo ìgbóná o, Ladoja
President Bola Tinubu recalls his long friendship with the monarch and prays for a peaceful and prosperous reign, while assuring Nigerians that the nation is approaching brighter days after enduring hardship.
It's a great honor for me to be here as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to witness your coronation, to witness history, all the things that you've started, the deliberations, the expectations, and the history that we shared together. For this country, it is a great honor, a moment of history, that you ascend the throne of your forebearers. It's my prayer that you will live long and be celebrated as one of the rare gems of history to ascend the throne of your forefathers. It is my honor, my joy, my pleasure to wish you this day and many more days ahead.
Governor Makinde goes on to describe the coronation as a fulfillment of destiny, a binding force of Ibadan's traditional and ancient rights, and a unifying pedestal for the entire city.
History was literally made today. The president landed at Ibadan Airport, the first wide-bodied aircraft ever to land in Ibadan Airport. So ìgbà kábíyèsí ó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní máa tù wá lára àbí kò tí bẹ̀rẹ̀.
Àti sí airport tuntun.
So I join Oyo State government, sons and daughters of Ibadan land, láti kí kábíyèsí tuntun. Ìgbà yẹn á tù wá lára o. Your time will bring peace, progress, and prosperity to Ibadan land and to Oyo State.
The new monarch Obarashidi Adewale-Ladoja is grateful to all indigenes of Ibadan, Oyo State and Yoruba land for their support. He pledges that his reign would mark a new era of accountability, responsibility, and service to humanity.
Mr. President, wọ́n ní nítorí àwọn ológun ní Ìbàdàn State. Àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́? Àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ ìyẹn Ìbàdàn? Sọ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹ dìde kẹ́ bá mi kí President pé o ṣé o. Ẹ̀yin ọmọ Ìbàdàn dìde ṣé o.
Tinubu ẹ ṣé o.
President gbà.
President ti dìde ṣé o.
Ní problem pẹ̀lú National Assembly torí pé káyé pé àwọn kan náà wọn ò gbà ká lọ ní kìbádà ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tá a ní Ìbàdàn State àwọn kan náà tún sọ pé àwọn náà tún fẹ́ ní Ọ̀yọ́ State so omi ó sọ pé gbogbo wa ní afẹ́ ká pín Ọ̀yọ́ State sí méjì torí náà ó fẹ́ fi dá lójú pé iṣẹ́ yìí ni màá máa ṣe gbogbo lọ́sàn-án àti lóru.
The event graced by 5 Southwest governors, former governors, serving ministers, senators, and other dignitaries showcased Ibadan's rich cultural heritage, resilience, and excellence in its traditional leadership process. Meanwhile, festivities continue across Ibadan to usher in their new king. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
It's time for business news with Dominic Iwiwu. Dominic.
Thank you, Ayotunde. On business news, the Corporate Affairs Commission and Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, have agreed to provide free business registration for at least 250,000 micro, small and medium enterprises across the country. The initiative was announced today by the Registrar General of CAC, Hussaini Magaji, during the signing of the MOU on Friday in Abuja between the two agencies. The CAC chief said that entrepreneurs would now be able to obtain certificates seamlessly without delays or middlemen through the Commission's portal. On his part, the Director General of SMEDAN, Charles Odi, hailed the initiative as a milestone for small businesses, describing it as one of the big wins of the current administration. The Nigeria Customs Service and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have met today over the suspended 4% free on-board charge on imported goods. During the meeting, which was held at the Mine Secretariat in Ikeja, the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeni, said that manufacturers bringing in raw materials, machines and spare parts will not have to pay the levy, provided they fall under Chapters 98 and 99 of Nigeria's customs tariff. The customs chief added that the service has concluded the process of developing a comprehensive framework for establishing one-stop shops that will revolutionize how manufacturers interact with customs and other regulatory agencies. Now, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has clarified reports concerning the ongoing workforce reorganization within its facility. In a statement issued on Friday, the refinery said the restructuring exercise was aimed at safeguarding its operations and ensuring the safety of employees. The management of Africa's largest refinery explains that the decision was not arbitrary, but driven by urgent security and efficiency concerns. According to the company, intermittent sabotage incidents had been recorded in different units of the refinery, posing potential risks to human life and disrupting critical operations. And at the domestic equities market, investors gained 617 billion naira at the close of today's trading session, as the local bourse ends the week on a positive note, extending the previous session's gains. Inijo Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, in spite of the losses of the week, the market is closing on a very pleasant note. More than 500 billion naira was gained today at the close of trade. That brings the market cap to 89.9. So we are really close to that 90 trillion naira, and hopefully we will get there. The first trading day of next week. The all shares looking good, also 0.69% in the green, and we've scaled through the 141,000 level. We're now at 142. Now let's look at the sectors, and we see even more good news. Banking is up today. There we have it, 0.19%. Not as good as yesterday, but it's a good one because of Access Core, First Whole Core, UBA, and Zenith. And consumer goods, however, the shine of today's trade because it gained even more than 1%. Honeywell Flour International Breweries, Dangote Sugar, which had a huge drop earlier in the week, well, seems to have a full recovery by the end of the week. Oil and gas gained yesterday. Today it remains unchanged, even though slightly positive. So at the end of trade today, activity is full of green. Volume, value, and deals all in the green. And we have the bull on the floor of the NGS until Monday.
And that's it on business news. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says recognition of a Palestinian state is sheer madness. Addressing the UN's 80th General Assembly, Mr. Netanyahu condemned countries, including France and the UK, for the move he describes as a mark of shame. Here's Simon Hughes with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Last year, I stood at this podium and I showed this map.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called for the remaining leaders of Hamas to let his people go and free the remaining hostages.
This axis.
Addressing the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he denounced the leaders of countries who have recognized a Palestinian state and said Israel was fighting a war on 7 fronts for the benefit of the rest of the world.
Lay down your arms. Let my people go. Free the hostages. All of them. The whole 48. Free the hostages now. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel
will hunt you down. If Hamas agrees to our demands, the war could end right now. Please, order in hall.
A huge number of delegates walked out as he began his speech in protest at Israel's ongoing war in Gaza. It comes as Donald Trump says he will not allow him to annex the Israeli-occupied West Bank. The US president, who will meet Netanyahu on Monday, also said a ceasefire over the war in Gaza was pretty close. A federal grand jury in Virginia has indicted the former FBI Director James Comey on 2 charges related to his testimony to Congress. Mr. Comey, who has long drawn President Donald Trump's criticism, is accused of lying to Congress during his September 2020 testimony over whether he authorized the leak of classified information to the media. Responding to the indictment, Mr. Comey spoke in a 1-minute video on Instagram to declare himself innocent and said he has great confidence in the federal judicial system.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
The Israeli military says its air force has carried out its most powerful strike in Yemen in response to the Houthi movement's repeated drone and missile attacks on Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces said dozens of its aircraft bombed targets belonging to the Houthis' security and intelligence services and military in the capital Sana'a. The Houthi-run government's health ministry denounced what it calls Israel's brutal crime, saying civilian facilities and residential buildings were hit and that 8 people were killed. US President Donald Trump has urged Turkey to stop buying oil from Russia, part of a wider drive to cut off Moscow's energy funding as the war in Ukraine rages on. Speaking alongside President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the White House, Mr. Trump said halting these imports would be the best thing his Turkish counterpart could do. The Oval Office meeting ended without any firm commitments to lift US sanctions on Turkey or sell advanced F-35 fighter jets, although Mr. Trump expressed optimism about both issues. Turkey has for years been prevented from buying US F-35s. In 2019, it was expelled from a program where it produced parts for the warplane after it acquired air defense systems from Russia. The former UK Prime Minister, Sir Tony Blair, has been involved in discussions about leading a post-war transitional authority in Gaza. The proposal, which is said to have backing from the White House, would see Mr. Blair lead a governing authority supported by the UN and Gulf nations before handing control back to the Palestinians. His office said he would not support any proposal that displaced the people of Gaza. Sir Tony, who took the UK into the Iraq War in 2003, has been part of high-level planning talks with the US and other parties about the future of Gaza. And China, the world's biggest source of planet-warming gases, has for the first time committed to an absolute target to cut its emissions. In a video statement to the UN in New York, President Xi Jinping said that China would reduce its greenhouse gas emissions across the economy by 7 to 10% by 2035, while striving to do better. But some critics said China's plan did not go as far as hoped to keep global climate goals in reach. This week's UN meeting in New York has extra relevance because countries are running out of time to submit their new climate plans.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Time now for some sports news with Chris Ilems.
Thank you, Ayo. Welcome to Sports News. The Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olopade, has played down concerns the country does not have the facilities to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games if handed the hosting rights in November. Nigeria is up against India in its bid to become the first African country to host the multi-sport event 5 years from now. He told Channels Television in London the country is well prepared for the task in hosting the biggest games among the Commonwealth nations.
If we do not have the infrastructure, you must remember that the Commonwealth Games bid process has been compressed compared to the wide elements that he had before. But even at that, we hosted the Koja Games. We've hosted so many multinational, multi-sporting events. And when people start asking if we have the facilities, I just laugh. We do. We do. And one of the best ways to rebirth and reinvigorate and recalibrate the facilities is through productive events of this nature. Because it simply means we have to refurbish, revamp, upgrade all existing facilities.
Nigeria's Premier Football League champions, Remo Stars, have advanced in the preliminary round of this season's CAF Champions League following a 1-0 victory over US Dilimaju of Comoros in the return leg of their clash in Abeokuta earlier today. The Sky Blue Stars advanced 5-0 on aggregate, having won the first leg 4-0 at same venue. The Kenya-based team scored the winning goal from the spot through Alex Oyowa 17 minutes from the time. Daniel Ogumodede's side will face South African side Mamelodi Sundowns in the next round. U.S. President Donald Trump expects next year's World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada, with most games taking place on American soil, to be safe, but warns that he is prepared to strip matches from host cities deemed even a little bit dangerous. U.S. host cities include staunchly Democratic strongholds such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. San Francisco and Seattle are both hosting 6 games each at the tournament. Los Angeles is hosting 8.
Very soon we're going to go into Chicago. It will be safe for the World Cup. If I think it isn't safe, we'll move it into a different city. So, no, if any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, you know, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit. But I hope that's not going to happen.
Well, beautiful one there. And it's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. Vice President Kashim Shettima has reaffirmed Nigeria's drive to spearhead Africa's renaissance as world leaders continue their debate at the 80th UN General Assembly in New York. Former Oyo State Governor Rashidi Ladoja has officially been crowned the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land in a grand star-studded ceremony. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has criticized Western nations for recognizing a Palestinian state moments after delegates staged a walkout. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. And to have a good night and have a great weekend.